If you guys haven't heard this week, Ted Turner, media mogul extraordinaire in America, died at the age of 87 years old. So, to the Turner family and everyone that loved him, they lost one of the most consequential figures on the 20th century on Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday 6th. It was Ted Turner. He was 87 years old. And whether you knew him as a media titan, a philanthropist, or for those of us here in the wrestling world, the man who gave us the Monday Night Wars. His fingerprints are on almost everything we consume as of today. Ted Turner didn't wait for permission to be great. And when I looked him up in the 70s, he took over his father's struggling Atlanta billboard company. He had a billboard company that I didn't even was aware of until this week. And he turned it into a media empire. And that's how he made it. And he would rewrite the rules of television. He took a small UHF station, which was a radio station, TBS, and made it to the first superstation. So if anyone remembers the old school saying about the TBS channel, they used to call it the superstation. Now you know why. And he had that station beaming from Atlanta into living rooms across all throughout the America. And some people doubted him at first. They laughed at him. They called him just another mouth of the South. They said he couldn't go across America, and he did it anyway. And then on June 1st of 1980, Ted Turner, and most of us weren't probably around when this happened here, Ted Turner launched CNN, which is also known as the cable news network, and fundamentally changed how the world received information when it came to news. We didn't have to rely on our local channel or newspapers anymore, wait for 10 o'clock or 6 o'clock, depending where you live. You had a 24-hour station. For the first time in history, news was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it still is till today, for the most part. There was no more waiting for any broadcast anymore. Through CNN, they were able to do news about the Gulf War, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the O.J. Simpson trial even, which was one of the world's most watched moments in real time through Ted Turner. And he believed that news should never sleep and it should always be out there. So until today, we still have it. And in fact, other channels replicate it. We have Fox News now. We have, I think there's so many other BPP, I don't know. But there were other channels. These are the two most popular ones at this point. Then he followed that with TNT, and then Turner Classic Movies, which is one of my favorite channels because I just love movies. And then he started building a content empire that still shares what we watch today. The critics on him said that 24 Hours News Channel would run out of things to say, which predominantly is true at today's day. But he proved them wrong at that time every single day. Now, for us here, for the sake of our channel, we'll talk about the wrestling portion now. Because of Ted Turner's impact on pro wrestling is still being felt right now. In 2026, we still have wrestling thanks to him. We probably wouldn't know what would have happened without the Monday Night Wars if he didn't buy WCW. But that's what his main contribution. In November 1988, he went to Jim Crockett's promotion, one of NWA's flagship promotions, and he pretty much provided. They were in the verge of bankruptcy and collapsing, and Turner stepped in. He purchased the company, rebranded it to World Championship Wrestling, and put it on his networks. He didn't have to do it. Wrestling wasn't his passion the way cable news was, but he believed in competition. That was the thing about Ted Turner. He loved freaking competition, and any way he can. He was even a sailor. He probably competed there too, for all we know. He believed in it. He believed in giving talent a place to perform. And he backed it with the resources of the Turner broadcast networks. On September 4th, 95, WCW launched Monday Night Nitro on TNT, going head-to-head with WWF's Monday Night Raw on USA Network. What followed was the famous 83 weeks of WCW defeating WWE in the ratings week after week after week. We had great things such as the NWO, the famous Hulk Hogan turn that no one thought would ever happen. We had Goldberg's undefeated streak, if people loved that. We had Sting. We had Sting before that, but we had the Crow Sting. And we had Sting in the rafters, watching all the bad actors in WCW. We had Bret Hart there as well, but we also had the Four Horsemen. And none of it exists without Ted Turner writing checks and giving wrestlers a home outside of WWE. Now, the Monday Night Wars pushed Vince McMahon to evolve because at that time, before it became a competition, he was still doing his old golden era gimmicks with very cutesy, very PG, G-rated type of characters. And thanks to Ted Turner and thanks to Eric Bischoff pushing their envelope to be more competitive, more edgier, Vince McMahon had to do the same. And because of that, we got the Attitude Era. We had, between the Golden Era and the Attitude Era, we had the New Generation, but still the New Generation still had those very gimmicky characters. Through the Attitude Era, we had more realistic characters that were able to connect to people more. One of the biggest ones, obviously, is Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Triple H, Undertaker. Well, Undertaker was he's just generational. He just converted from every era. But we had DX. The sky was the limit. Competition made both companies better, and the fans, us marks, the ones who stayed up late watching both shows, we were the ones that won at that time. It was an amazing time. We had to switch between commercials to go from one channel or the other. I don't know who had two TVs at that time, but I don't think that was a possibility. And because of that, and now even till today, we have all Elite Wrestling, which opened its Dynamite and Collision this past week with a 10-bell salute in his honor, because to today, AEW is now on Ted Turner broadcast. One of them is on TBS, Dynamite's on TBS, and Collision's on TNT. So they're keeping the tradition that WCW had at that time. What else can I say? The very existence of these companies stood on the shoulder of Ted Turner's WCW. The Khan family didn't just buy the TV deal that they have with Ted Turner. They wanted to inherit the blueprint of the success that Ted Turner drafted when he tried to compete with WCW. Beyond business, Ted Turner also, I found out, he pledged $1 billion to the UN in '97. One of the largest philanthropic gifts in modern history. He gave back $31 million to cover U.S. debt to the UN in 2001. He founded the Turner Foundation and dedicated his later years to environmental causes and nuclear disarmament. He was, as a person, he was very complicated. He was always brash and bold, but he had his brilliant moments. Now, unfortunately, as I said, the man passed at 87. And I hope my condolences is to the Turner family, to the wrestling community that followed him, the media world, and anyone who has ever watched any of his channels he built. On my behalf and on behalf of the channel, we are sending our deepest condolences. The world's quieter today.